It all started from the human voice. Song was born, and from there, choirs of people would join together to create what is called harmony. The voice can change from high to low, and soon instruments would be made, derived from the sound of the voice. No longer was there only polyphony, but homophony. And, okay, I think you get it. This isn't your music appreciation teacher talking about how important it is to know the origins of music and why some random German guy can play keys on a glorified counter. But we can all agree that we listen to music at some point in our lives. We hear it whether we even notice it or not. It is all around us, and we don't even realize how important it is for our society and culture. So many of the world's advances are because of music and the power it has in changing our emotions and how we feel and act. But again, this isn't some crash course about the history of music. Instead, what I want to talk about today is, while about music, is more along the lines of preserving music and media as a whole. We sometimes take advantage of what is easily accessible to us. You, watching this video, have the ability to open up Spotify, Apple Music, or hell, even YouTube, if you're poor. Have the ability to type out the name of a song you like, and from there, boom! In the span of a couple of seconds, you are now able to listen to and enjoy it. But what if this ability to listen to music was gone? No more are you able to listen to your favorite song or artist. That new Drake song that has been going viral? Gone. Taylor Swift, with her music catered to her cult of basic white women, whose biggest struggle is not finding a Stanley Cup in their favorite color? Truly a modern day tragedy. All of her music gone. Actually, that might not be a bad thing now I'm thinking about it. Dream and his iconic decade-defining... Okay, I can't even finish that sentence. But you get the point. What if all this was gone forever, in the blink of an eye, without you not even knowing or realizing it? The term lost media has been gaining more popularity as of late. Lost media, in simple terms, is just media such as art, music, movies, whatever you want it to be, that is not readily accessible to the public. Now, this term isn't really new at all. In fact, a lot of earlier media can technically be called lost. The thought of being able to have, own, and access it one day, only for it to vanish out of nowhere the next, is truly terrible. Almost dystopian in a way if you really think about it. However, as time has passed, we have grown to know that this is normal and that it is truly a terrifying thought. I bet most people don't even know what the Wayback Machine is, nor even know what the term archive means. Okay, I'm sure most people do, but I live in America where the average person thinks that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Now that I think about it. And according to Pew Research, almost a quarter of the internet has been lost. I'm sure everyone knows about the internet iceberg, where what is easily accessible to us is only 10% of the entire internet. And while I'm sure a majority of that 25% comes from the lost web pages from the deep and even dark web, some of the visible web has also been lost, meaning just as the icebergs are melting in real life, so is the internet iceberg. But why is that? While most of it has to come down to copyright, privacy, legal matters, boring stuff, sometimes it just gets taken down and is lost for no apparent reason. Just like how when you set something down for a second to look for something only to find that it's just gone. I mean, seriously, how does that always happen? The internet acts the same way as well. It might be somewhere close by, or what is more believable is the scary shadow man took it and won't give it back no matter how many times I ask. Anyways, stuff on the internet disappears just like that without a single trace left behind. Now, how does this have to tie back to the beginning of the video? Wasn't this originally about music? Yes, it is. Okay, I get it. Your attention span is fried from the amount of TikTok you watch in a day, but if you give me like 5 more seconds, I can explain because I refuse to have a window of Subway Surfers in the background playing so you can pay attention. What I realized in my time of being terminally online is that the most common form of lost media are songs. And there is one song in particular, one that can be classified as this lost media, that I've been on the hunt for literal years. But before that, let me set the stage for you. I was a young lad, 14 to be exact, maybe 15. I was doom scrolling on TikTok when I came across this one video. Now this video at the time had barely 1,000 likes. Pathetic. It was about this genre of music called Japanese techno. Now at the time, I was a fan of a genre and okay, bear with me now, but it's called 80s Japanese city pop and funk. Okay, I know that sounds bad, but it's not. It's actually pretty good. Even nowadays, I still sometimes listen to it, but not as much as I used to, trust me. Please. It's just that anytime I bring it up with someone, they call me a loser and they never talk to me again. But going back to the TikTok, I was mildly intrigued. I was also 15 and still forming brain cells, so I just decided to give the video a watch. What else did I have to do anyways? It was basically just some person's favorite songs of the genre, and I wasn't that interested to be honest. You know the scene in Ratatouille where the food critic takes a bite of the food and instantly just like shuts down and remembers his past? A similar thing happened to me. I instantly shut down. The sound. It sounded so familiar. But from where? No matter how much I thought, I couldn't remember. If I even remembered something similar to begin with. I might have been going crazy, but I just had to hear the whole song. I just had to know who made the song. And me, being the totally rational type, totally, I Shazammed it, but nothing came up. Oh well, I'm sure I can find it another way. Oh, lucky me. The original creator of the video uploaded a link to the video. I'll just copy and paste it. And 3 years. I have been on and off searching online and everywhere else for this one singular song for 3 years. Keep that in mind. Basically throughout my whole entire career in high school, I've been looking for this one song. And to be honest, the reason why I kept searching for it was just because I don't want to have this one singular sound snippet of this song looping in my head for the entire rest of my life, okay? You know the feeling that you get when you like remember a song in your head but you can't remember the name of the song, so you're just like frantically trying to look up what the song name is or any sort of lyric you can like pick up on when you think about it? That's what I didn't want to have happen to me. This one singular song is so fucking obscure that nowhere online could tell me what the fuck the name is, okay? That's how insane this was. And you know, if that were it, if it were just me finding a song that I found relatively interesting from a TikTok video a couple years ago, I wouldn't have made a video on it in the first place because, you know, everyone goes through that kind of experience every once in a while. There's nothing really unique or interesting about it aside from the fact that it took me a while and the song's very obscure. But what really made this special to me is how it got me thinking just how important the preservation of media is. And even though we're moving closer and closer to a digital age, even though we basically, you know, already are in one, where it's easier and easier to, you know, preserve media from long ago, we kind of take for advantage the fact that, you know, we don't really do it that often, and what is there, you know, we're not really grateful for in the first place. And what it really boils down to is that whether we like it or not, something online could be lost forever. Now, this dates back all the way to, like I said, mid to late 2021. I don't know when. While it has been a while since I first saw it, so I don't remember the exact date I saw it. The video in question comes from the user .SoriaMoria, whose video is about the confusing and obscure world of Japanese techno. Now, this way of labeling the genre causes me some issues in my search later on, but I will go into that later in the video. But the video contains 3 songs that they are particularly fond of. And to their credit, they do sound similar to the genre of Japanese techno, and for all intents and purposes, you can classify them as such. Japanese techno, sometimes referred to as J-techno, is a subgenre of electronic dance music, more commonly known as EDM, originating from the 1990s, that blends techno, trance, and ambient sounds with traditional Japanese instruments and themes. J-techno is very similar to American or traditional techno, with similar components like a fast beat with synchronized sounds, but differs slightly, as here techno usually includes pop music with a fast beat, while J-techno includes almost an ambient sound, with vocals also being more common. It can also appear like it can be going a bit slower than traditional techno, going back to how sometimes it can feel like a trance almost, like which the first song in the video demonstrates. There are also again many cultural differences. Here we may use popular American songs with American instruments. Over there they may accompany the song with Japanese media with Japanese music, like the third song where they play a sample from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now I noticed while listening that the instruments used are more machine-like, but that just might be me, I don't know. But notice how I said the first and third and skipped the second video. Well, that's because that's the song that intrigued me the most, the song that this video is all about and led me down this hunt in the first place. Now this one is unique, as this one prominently has vocals, something that is different from the other two and other traditional techno. It also kind of sounds like a trance too, which kind of incorporates all elements of the genre into one song, which is why I gravitated so much towards it. But anyways, I'm rambling on for way too long. I want you guys to take a listen. Now after listening to that snippet, in all three you may think to yourself, wow, those songs were complete ass. Who in their right mind would dedicate 3 long years of their life trying to find the origins of one song that sounds like total music vomit? And yeah, I do see where you might be coming from. A lot of people who I've shown this song to have said a similar thing, that well, it sucks complete ass. And while that is fair to say, it is opinionated after all. There is something about it that just stuck to me. It sounds so familiar, yet so distant. The rhythm, how slow it is. How does it feel so trance-like, but also still really upbeat? All of these thoughts made me more and more interested to where I wanted to listen to the full original version. Now, the original creator did leave a note in the video in the beginning, saying that Techno is a nightmare to find. And boy, they were not kidding. But they had a link in the comments. That leads to a deleted video that doesn't work. I tried to Shazam it, knowing it probably wouldn't lead to anything. I even tried to message the creator on a now deleted account, asking if they had any update on the broken link. But seeing how I made that comment back then in 2021, and they still have not responded, makes me believe that they will not be of any help to me. I even messaged them a couple years later, but still, no response. What made it worse was that the creator listed the song wasn't made by one person, but instead various artists. Yes, I do see that there is technically an artist listed under the song, but trust me, I will get to that later. It's really confusing. And to make things worse, the song was in Japanese characters. Now, I'm not a weeb who also speaks the language. I know next to nothing on the Japanese language, or how to even read or write it. Luckily, we're in the future. I have such tools like Google Translate to make the search a lot easier. Putting this into Google Translate roughly translates to Gacha Eye Prince, and Googling that just leads to some weird gacha game that your niece or nephew is obsessed with for some reason. Well, since that didn't work, let's try looking up the original. When looking up the song in its original name, there is some what looks like to be Japanese pins, but the first page it recommends does actually have something to do with the song in question, as well as that artist, Hubmaster, which I skipped before. Hubmaster seems to be the main, I guess, composer of the song, as anytime I look up the name of the song, his name is usually included. The page brings me to Last.fm, a music database site that is used to look up songs as well as track your listening habits, to give song recommendations in the future, as well as to track how many times you have listened to a certain band or song. While the site is niche, I did actually have a Last.fm bot in my Discord server, as it's a fun way to see songs you and your friends may enjoy together, as well as to see which of your friends is the biggest loser by how many times they have listened to Radiohead. God, I knew it. Anyways, here we can see what Hubmaster supposedly looks like, and all the non-existent info about him. To be honest, he just looks like a regular Japanese dude. There is literally nothing on this page about him, but here there are some songs from him. These might lead closer to the original song. I decided just to look up the most popular song, and this actually gave me some solid results. First of all, it actually gave me the song on YouTube, something I was not expecting at all. And from how it sounds, well, it is techno. Very upbeat, but also very heavy on the chiptune. I'll give you a listen. Actually, a lot of songs are on YouTube posted by the user Violent Switch. The songs are a part of the album X-Tray Master. Under the video, when looking up the song, there leads to a Discogs page with the song and the album. Discogs is similar to Last.fm, as it is also a database, but also has a marketplace and has more information about the certain albums and songs compared to Last.fm. The album was released in 2001, which kind of puts into perspective how old these songs are. Clicking on Hubmaster does bring up a page about him, with again, the X-Tray Master album. However, there is more here as it also features appearances he was in, and here we do see the song in question. Clicking on it brings us to the entire album the song was featured on. Translating it reads to Scorching Hot Disco Hell. The translation isn't perfect, and this is supposedly a mistranslation. The actual name is supposed to be Disco Inferno, which is seen on the actual album image itself. Here, we see the song and the rest of the album. There is also information about the marketplace, which apparently it was sold for $200 all the way back in 2022. When I first found the website, there was no listing nor seller, so this is actually fairly new. Either way, I don't tend to use this information for much, since none of it can be confirmed, and so whether it was sold or not isn't really that important, as there isn't much of a way to buy it either from what I've tried. Discogs does actually give a lot of information about the song and the album. It was released all the way back in 1999. I wasn't even born yet, which is crazy to think about. It also technically isn't classified as techno, which is why I was complaining at the start start of the video, as trying to look for the song with the term techno gives a completely different site called Rate My Music, which is pretty similar to Discogs. Yet another music database, this one having a focus on user reviews, which again, I can't really confirm if they're true or not, considering the obscurity and trouble of finding the song, which makes their reviews almost strange and kind of creepy in a way. The last thing I will say about the site is that it now recently has a YouTube link, which, as you guessed, leads to a removed video. And putting the link into Wayback Machine doesn't give you much of a better result. There's only a snapshot in December where the video cannot be played, and there is also a description that leads to more questions than answers, unfortunately. Going back to Discog, the website states that the song was primarily in a CDR, basically a CD meant for music recording. It was a format which makes sense for the time. There's also more images of the album along with the cover. I didn't really mention the cover, so I'll briefly go over it here. The cover art displays a black background with what appears to be a drawing of a schoolgirl seemingly to hold something. It also shows the date the album was made as well as the title, and there's a label in the corner which I couldn't really decipher. Not only is there the cover, but also what seems to be the back with all the songs listed as well as a website, seemingly to be about the members, but as you can probably guess, the website doesn't work, and not even the Wayback Machine has any snapshots of it. There are 2 more images included, but I will talk about them later as they fit more aligned with the next section that is discussed later in this video. The last piece of information is a label, X Roger, XRCD009. Clicking on it leads to a lot of info that I did not expect to find and only led me deeper down this rabbit hole. At this point, there is no turning back. I can either take my losses, considering everything I have looked at up until now has just been a disappointment after disappointment, or do I keep exploring, seeing how deep this takes me? Obviously, by the title and the length of this video, I decided to choose the latter and continue my wild goose chase of a hunt. So get ready, because we have only just scratched the surface. The obscurity of it only grows more as it is much more than just a song, but a whole entire culture and history that is only now being discovered and revealed. The label of the album is titled X Roger, a Doujin electronic music label whose most of their works were composed of samples from games or anime. For those who don't know, a label is either a company that manufactures the artist's music as well as promotes it. Basically, they receive making the artist money for their work. What's interesting about X Roger is that it isn't a company, but just a couple of people, the supposed owner of which being someone named SK1. I tried looking up the identity of this guy, but there is nothing much as to be expected. However, there is some backstory about SK1. Originally, SK1 was a part of a music duo alongside someone named Tell. Again, basically next to no information about him. And together, they went under the name Noporo Masters and Shinagawa Masters, both predating the start of X Roger. Noporo, if I'm saying that correctly, refers to a park in Japan, and Shinagawa is actually a city in Japan. From what I could find, they only released around 5 albums together. Now you may be asking, well, how does any of this have to do with X Roger? Well, the label actually started when SK1 shared a demo disc with the infamous Hubmaster, who then all 3 joined to create the label in 1996. And later that year, in September, they would drop their first album, XRCD-001, based off the anime Mizuru Judai. Mizuru Judai was a manga series from 1991 by Shogakukan. Again, I am butchering these so bad, I apologize. That was later adapted into an anime 5 years later in 1996. It is categorized as a shoujo manga. Shoujo, from what I researched, can be translated into girls' comics, which targets mostly adolescent and young women, with themes such as romance, basically the female version of shonen, which is one of the most popular genres of manga that mainly targets adolescents and young men. The manga and anime are about a girl named Tuko Kawai, a junior high school student falling in love with her best friend while is also trying to grow up and overcome her shyness. A pretty generic story, to be honest, which makes me question why the label based their album off of it. Now, the song that I'm looking for is in the album XRCD009, meaning that there is not just one album, but 8 others up until that point. Now, the 3 kept releasing music albums up until 1999, and the label soon expanded to a total of 6 regular members, and for 3 whole years, they made not only music, but performed it too. They had some early shows at the beginning of their career in places like Chiba and Senda, but had their first official one in Sendai Kodai Park on May 4th, 1998. Now, between releases of 7 and 8, relations between SK1 and Tell would break off, and in 1999, assuming the release of the 9th album, SK1 would leave, causing the label to break up, and with him, a lot of the other members left as well. There were a few who stayed, and those who did are now under the new label called Hake Shokai, and from 2006 to 2014, they released 7 more almost sub-albums under the same naming convention. I say sub as they were not a part of a new album that they have created, but instead were simply albums with XRCD009 followed by a decimal number showing how there would be no 10th album. Exploring deeper, I ended up on the Internet Archive page that seems to be an archive of the website from the label themselves. This is what I believe to be where that website on the CD originally led to, or at least something similar, as the URLs aren't exactly the same. Going on the archive, there is a message that is supposedly from the school, the logo of the label, which more or less gives the same information that I talked about with a link to more information about them. It is a pretty cute message, to be honest, with even an asking to wipe your shoes as if you were coming into someone's house. It does emphasize again that the label disbanded due to unknown circumstances in bold, putting a lot more mystery into why they broke up in the first place. Clicking on the link, there is another message about the disbandment reading, "Thank you to everyone who supported us. Bye bye bye, sob sob sob." The end is the beginning, bye bye Keen. It also mentions the disbandment rave, which was recorded in various reports as they did have the whole performance on the breakup at some point or another. Following that, there are a couple not so organized links. Some of them are broken as to be expected, but surprisingly a lot did work, and what I found was honestly quite eye-opening. I felt like I found a whole treasure trove of information that I was not supposed to see. It's kind of like that scene in Incredibles where Mr. Incredible finds all the hero disappearances in the evil guy's lair. From old internet forums to fan mail to full-on maps and concert data, there was so much to unpack here. While I still haven't found the song, my goal is taking a backseat for now. I instead became more focused on the label itself. What were they like? What happened in those couple of years that they were together? It's truly incredible what the power of archiving can do, but at times I wonder, was I or anyone else ever meant to find this? Should this have all been lost to time instead? Some of it is quite personal after all, and while it's not like I'm leaking anything, as it's both public and these things have all happened years ago, I'm still unsure about how to feel about it. Things come and go, but as I start to consider crawling back up to the surface from the rabbit hole, I think about the song that's still lost, and how even if it might not have been for me to see, if it is still there, you can't erase history. You can't get rid of the past no matter how hard you try. It always finds a way to come back. Instead of dwelling on the fog that is ignorant bliss and lies, we should instead be reaching out for the truth and pursuing it no matter how ugly it is, and accepting that painful reality. Okay, enough with the Persona 4. I mean, I'm sure most people who go outside don't even know what that game is anyways. So instead, let us continue to dig deeper into the past and see what was meant to be hidden deep underground, well rather in this case, lodged far in the archives of the internet. The first actual clickable link on this page is titled How to Get, which when clicking brings a shop page for their CDs. What I found interesting here is how they have a section for overseas mailing, which is strange for such a small underground band to do. Even moderately sized bands typically tend to stay local. The link sadly for the overseas page does not work, so I am unable to see how far they would ship. The next link, titled Items, is simply a page filled with the items that they would sell, such as shirts and CDs, with the caption at the top saying, "If you have this, you will be ostracized by the world." The next one is a bulletin board, and this is where it starts to get really cool, as it is a giant forum for the band, discussing merch and even how much they like the music and CDs. It is kind of wholesome seeing a long ago community talk about their favorite band and how we do the exact same thing today, just not in an old school forum. What is interesting about this is how there are over 300 messages on this board, which is way more people than I expected. What is also interesting is back then, they had an option for you to link your own internet website to you, another old facet of the internet, as nowadays we just use social media instead. The link CD is what is truly eye-opening. Here, their whole discography is typed out albums 1 through 9, with all their songs, their names, and the dates for some of their later ones. Here you can see just how fast they produce their music, with the gap between 8 and 9 just being 4 months. The last one on this row is what truly piqued my interest, events. On the page, 7 are listed, so there is confirmation that the band had at least 7 public events, including dates and locations. Clicking on here really felt like stepping into somewhere I shouldn't have been. What further instated this feeling, and clicking on each link of the event brings out full-on maps of where they were held, directions too. As this is way before the GPS, this actually felt like finding a lost relic, as this is how these small bands handled concerts concerts wwithout the help of GPS and in a country that does not even use cars as a primary source of transportation. The other event links even show full-on posters for the event. Presumably the band would post these in the area. Just seeing the style of these is so nostalgic, I do not even know how to explain it. Under this is a reader opinion, which is more or less just a giant Q&A with the fans. Not only were these personal emails that were sent and personally responded to, but fans even sent full-on handwritten letters. I would have never thought in a million years to do this. The link next to it is a place that you can even send your own questions to hopefully be answered by the band itself. The next link is the various reports page, where the band wrote reports about all their events, but this does help to show that they were in fact real. The last one made me question the notoriety of the band, as this page shows every time they were posted in media. Maybe they weren't so small as I thought. After all, there are at least 4 times that they were published in magazines or in other papers. Hubmaster was supposedly even interviewed in one of them. The last 2 links are pretty miscellaneous. One is for links relating to web pages about X Roger, and the last is a history updates page about the band. But after going through their whole webpage, I still have found nothing but the song. Sure, I have found more information about the band itself and even about Hubmaster, but there's still not a whole lot that told me about the song. Sure, I know that there are more songs in the album, no shit, but there's still no audio of the song, nothing. But that is where I have a confession to make. Throughout the whole video, I have lied to you. I got all of you dumb, stupid idiots listening to such an interesting story only for it to be fake. You look so dumb right now, you dumb idiot baby sitting there. While not entirely fake, most of what I said has been highly dramatized, and none of what I said was found throughout multiple years. In fact, everything I found on the Wayback Machine was all from this year alone. The only things that were found in those 3 years were the websites I mentioned in the beginning. Now, why did I fool you into believing this rabbit hole story? The main reason is I was a dumb idiot child who didn't realize that he sucks at trying to find stuff online. Because yes, I did indeed find the song. Not only that, I found the whole entire album. And not only that, I found the whole fucking song list of the label itself, along with a ton of other bands just like them. Now, let's take a step back. How did I find the album? Well, remember on that one website, Rate My Music, had a non-functioning video? I put that link into the Wayback Machine. This was actually the first time I ever used it, and behold, something actually shows up. A non-working video, but it has a different title. Looking up the title led me to a website with, what would you guess it, has the song and the rest of the album. Now keep in mind, these were uploaded onto the site in 2023. So when I did my original searching, this website did not exist. Still, I mean, it was not hard to find. Now this was kind of a slap in the face. I mean, all I had to do was just try a little bit harder, use more than just the Google search bar, and I would have found the song much sooner. However, this was uploaded way after my initial search, so it doesn't sting too hard. However, if that were it, I wouldn't have cared too much. However, after that first slap to the face, this next finding is much closer to a full-on truck ramming into my body, because looking up the song with the extended mix part included leads you to a Wayback Machine link of not only the X Roger label, but tons of other Japanese techno artists. And what truly makes this hurt is that this was posted in July of 2022, the peak of my search. It was right there in front of me. I never even clicked on the Wayback Machine link on Discogs. I just never bothered to. I was so adamant on finding the song or information about the band that I did jack shit in trying to find anything. I just did a couple of Google searches, looked for 5 minutes online, found nothing, and called it a day. So I'm sorry for lying to you all. But saying that first would have just made the whole video lame, and younger me was too stupid to realize that anyways. However, I think me finding out about the label now was kind of fate in a way. Because again, I've been using the Wayback Machine for my whole search, and without it, I would have been fucked. But for a time, I thought this video would have never been made, because during my search, Wayback Machine just disappeared and went offline out of nowhere, and it took some digging to find out what happened. And ultimately, it was its disappearance and going offline which compelled me to make this video in the first place. Because while I did talk about the search for the song, it was never really about the song. It was about the internet preservation, keeping the internet safe, because in just a few seconds, it can be gone just like that. Now The day is sometime in early October, I want to say. I was in college, just getting out of my English class after listening to the most liberal English teacher, well, I wouldn't even call her a teacher, talk about the inequality of minorities, blah blah blah, something, but moving on. After class, I start walking towards the library to finish working on the research for this video. I open up the Wayback Machine, only to find it doesn't work. Huh, that's weird, I thought. Perhaps it's just the Wi-Fi or something. I tried for a few minutes, and then eventually just gave up since I had a calc test in less than an hour, and I probably should have been studying in the first place. So, after the test, I get home, check my computer, only to find this screen whenever I look up the Wayback Machine. Now, I thought the whole video was over, and that all my time and effort into finding information about something that no one aside from me cares about is gone. And I looked up why this is happening, and apparently it's because of some pro-Palestine movement or something, which, really quick, if I can give my own opinion on this was the worst attack they could have done. Not because it was a terrible act or anything, obviously it was bad, but attacking the Wayback Machine is the equivalent to attacking Spotify in order to have an artist stop making music. It is just completely absurd because the attack did not hurt literally anyone in the government. It only affected civilians. In fact, the government was probably for this attack of information, if anything. It is also ridiculous because this information is backed up on their cloud. The same way that if Spotify was attacked, people can just go onto YouTube instead or something. Now, what I was doing was not found anywhere else, so it makes sense why I was mad. But you get the point of how totally retarded this attack was. Even with that said, however, this attack totally changed the course on what this video was about in the first place. Originally, this video was just gonna be about how I found some dumb Japanese song and how it took me a while because I'm a complete idiot. But only after the attack, I realized just how important information online and the past really is. They say history is taught so that we do not repeat ourselves and our mistakes. And while that may be true, I think ultimately it is taught so that we do not forget what happened before us. Back in the day, people did not have the internet to easily catalog things. Everything was ran on pencil and paper, and even before that, people had scribes who would write on clay or even wall paintings to document what was going on in the world around them. And obviously, I got why they did this, no shit, but I always viewed it in the sense that people did this so that they would look good for future generations. Like, of course, the victors in history would write about how successful they are, and while it is true that the victors write history, the fact of the matter is that they are preserving history as well. And back then, it was so hard to keep this information. Take, for example, the Alexandria Library burning down. Countless texts and books are now lost, never to be found again. Luckily, nowadays, we have the internet, and this should help to fix the issue, but I think in some ways, it is just as hard to keep information. A lot of times, people do not want certain information online, or they lock it behind a paywall that is just ungodly expensive. As an example, I was doing a public speech about an ancient culture, and one of the articles I was considering looking at costed like $100 for a day to look at, which is absurd considering the person who wrote that is making no money, and it is just the journal who rakes all the profits. In June of 2020, Wayback Machine was actually sued for all the books that they had archived, which I get, sure, but this just feels like the Alexandria Library story all over again, and the archive is a way to stop that, as it also stops censorship, which is what is going on today, which is possibly why the lawsuit happened in the first place. I'm not sure exactly though, because I do not think authors care that much about their books, and archive barely anyone looks at them anyway, but I digress. Ultimately, what I am getting at is the preservation of past information, especially online, is more important than ever in our day and age, with the threats of online attacks, government censorship, and multiple other issues. Because when some 15-year-old boy finds a snippet of a shitty Japanese techno song he really likes, it is really annoying to try and scour the whole internet for 3 whole years just to inevitably find it and realize it fucking sucks and that he wasted his time to eventually make a YouTube essay that he was never gonna make, since his last video that he made was gonna be his last, because oh my god, I do not want to keep pirated Adobe software on my system forever. I can only imagine how many viruses I've already gotten right now as of making this video. Also, as a side note, these videos are hella long to make, especially the editing. The worst part about making videos in the first place is the editing part. You know how long it takes on average? I'll tell you right now how long this video took me to make. It's not about the journey, it's about the friends you made along the way, is a quote that does not in any way, shape, or form apply to this video whatsoever, as the journey to find the song was horrible, and eventually finding the song really was not any better. Now, I just want to say thank you so much for sticking to the end. This video took a shit ton amount of time to make. To be honest, there was a point that I wasn't even going to make this video just because of how much effort it took. But I think if it weren't for the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, that the whole Wayback Machine got attacked, I probably would never have made this video in the first place, because, you know, it would just been a story with an ending, sure, and a happy ending, I guess. but there wouldn't have been anything to gain out of it besides, try hard enough, you might get there. But even then, it's like, it's not true all the time. I just got lucky, And if this video does well, I will make a video about this. I'm not gonna reveal it because I'm sure many of you don't even know what this is. I will make another video, and this video will probably be even longer because I actually have B-roll footage of it and other stuff. But that's a topic for another day. Again, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching till the end of the video. Thank you guys for, sticking with me. I know it's been a long ass time. I'm sorry. I'm just a busy guy nowadays. But I hope I can make more videos like this in the future. Make sure to, I'm not even going to say like and subscribe. That's so cheesy. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Good night.
ソフィアの純愛無差別テロだったのだ。